Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us again today on Korea Business News Global Signs. Today, we're going to have a fascinating talk with Bryan Scibicky, Senior Recruiter at Tidewater Recruiting Associates, based in Georgia in the United States. Bryan, welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me, Bruce. It's great to see you. It's been a long time.
Bryan, you were once a broker at UBS Painewebber, but later decided to enter the software business. At present, you're a seasoned recruiter. Can you tell our viewers what motivated you to change industries?
Sure, Bruce. I'll be glad to tell a quick story about that. I was with UBS working with both retail clients as well as some small institutional firms here in the southeastern United States, and frankly really enjoyed the interaction that I had with my clients. But it was after the terrorist attack on 9/11 that the retail investment business became increasingly challenging, and the opportunity opened up for me to lead the business development efforts of a software application firm. I worked in that industry for a number of years when the time really away from home became more and more of a challenge, which is why I transitioned to the executive recruiting profession.
I think it was a great choice. Now, Bryan, you're a successful recruiter. How will your business change post-COVID-19?
Well, I think the biggest issues that companies have is really to identify quality candidates in an environment where both social and professional interaction is limited. And that's a huge challenge. Businesses still need to find quality professionals to not just adjust to the current reality of doing business in a pandemic, but immediately, once they're brought on board, to help drive revenue during uncertain times in ways that they've never had to do before. So it takes a special person, and it takes some very flexible management teams on the company side to really helpfully drive business forward.
I see. Now, Bryan, as someone who's worked in the finance industry, can you share your views on the current economic situation in the United States, please?
Sure, Bruce. In a word, frustrating. Prior to the onset of the pandemic, the U.S. economy was experiencing record levels of production and some of the lowest unemployment numbers in recent memory. Right now, there's a pent-up demand on the consumer side, which is slowly bringing money back into the economy. And as long as there's continued progress towards both the vaccine and treatments that work for COVID, it should continue. It may be challenging over the next few months, but the U.S. economy is incredibly resilient, and most of the companies that I work with are preparing for a return to hopefully steady growth and increased profits once we get this behind us.
Well, that's cheerful news. Now, Bryan, can you tell our viewers about Georgia's economic situation?
Sure. As I said, I live here in the state of Georgia in southeastern United States, and we're really in a unique situation in that we're fortunate to have a very diverse economic base. From our ever-expanding ports here in Savannah, where I live, handling millions of tons of both imports and export goods, a robust manufacturing sector which is spread across the state, a growing number of technology firms that relocate or opening up here both in Savannah as well as more recently in Atlanta. We've had also a huge business in tourism and the service industry here in Georgia. So our economy is really poised to bounce back rather quickly, and frankly is doing that as we speak.
I see. Now, Bryan, there are reports that the current COVID-19 situation in Georgia is not very good. Can you tell us more about the current situation?
Well, certainly the numbers and the science don't lie. It's an increasingly large number of infected people here in Georgia, and which is putting a strain on our hospitals and our emergency services. I have friends that are doctors and nurses that are, frankly, on the front lines, and they're saying it's incredibly challenging. Our governor, on the other hand, is in a difficult position of attempting to address the needs of both responding to the pandemic and what government can do, and getting people here in Georgia and businesses back to work safely.
I see. Let's hope things improve. Now, Bryan, Georgia doesn't seem to be proactively responding to COVID-19. it appears that some people are resisting wearing masks. What do Georgians really think about the virus, and how are they responding to it?
Well, here in Georgia, we were fortunate initially to not have the widespread infection rates that many of the more urban states were unfortunately having to deal with, like New York and the Pacific Northwest and Los Angeles. Georgians are like everyone else, and they're incredibly concerned. And frankly, the mixed messages from the beginning of this pandemic from both the medical and our senior governmental leadership didn't help at all. You know, why was it okay to have thousands of people protesting, yet not okay to hold religious services and even family funerals? You know, people see these things and understandably have doubts as to who and what to believe. Now it seems like as more people are seeing firsthand, unfortunately, the lethal nature of this virus, the more people here in Georgia are beginning to take measures to prevent the spread, and thankfully so.
I see. Now, what are your thoughts about the upcoming U.S. presidential elections? It looks as though Wall Street is starting to support former Vice President Biden. Do you think President Trump's chances for re-election are now over, or do you think he'll be able to emerge victorious in November?
Well, thankfully, I'm not a politician. And here in Georgia, we've been fortunate to have a very conservative and business-focused majority leading our state very successfully over the last few years. As for President Trump's chances for re-election, I think it's way too early to call it over and a win for Vice President Biden. The polling prior to the last presidential election showed Trump behind in many areas, and yet he still beat Hillary Clinton handily. Can he win? Sure he can. But like any other election, the key is to get your supporters out to vote. And if he fails to motivate his core supporters to show up to the polls, it could be difficult.
Well, it'll be a very interesting election. Now, the U.S. stock markets have had a very nice rally. Do you think it will continue?
Well, from my perspective, helping companies identify quality candidates to fill roles within their infrastructure, it seems like it should continue for the immediate future. There are so many companies that have learned to adapt their service delivery models and respond to the current realities of doing business during a pandemic, that the growth should continue here in the U.S. as long as we see continued progress towards both a vaccine and treatments for COVID-19.
I see. Now, finally, are there any stocks, either Korean or American, that you would like to share with our viewers today?
Sure, it's old habits. Samsung Electronics in the Korean market is an incredible company that continues to deliver innovative products both globally and would be a great core holding in most portfolios for most investors. Here in the U.S., I would recommend looking at building long-term holdings in things that are going to participate in the increased consumer demand of the economy as it recovers after COVID-19, including Apple computers and Intel, which I still recommend to some of my friends and my former clients. Old habits die hard.
I see. Bryan Skibicki, seasoned recruiter at Tidewater Recruiting Associates. Thank you for joining us again on Global Signs.
Great to see you, Bruce. Hope to talk to you again soon.
Bryan Skibicki recommends 3 stocks to our viewers today. The first stock is Samsung Electronics for its innovative products, and in the U.S., Apple and Intel as core holdings. I want to thank everyone again today for joining us on Korea Business News Global Signs. I look forward to seeing everyone again very soon. Thank you very much.